What's going on? I wanted to make a video about using supplements, my experience with it, and we're also going to dive into herbs, dried herbs for that matter, and a whole range of supplements. Also protein powders. First of all, I want to say you should be getting all your vitamins, nutrients, and minerals through whole foods, and you should always do this. So you should always be getting everything you need through food. Some food takes away nutrients from your body and takes away your minerals, and especially cooked food because it's dead. And then there's arguments about vegetables and fruits taking minerals, and also meat because it's so taxing on the body. Again, you want to aim for nutrient dense foods, and pretty much the higher priced foods, they're not always higher priced, but usually you pay more for better quality. Now that being said, I want to go over some supplements, the ones that I'm immaculated to and ones that I've used. Now, specific supplements such as like B12 and ones like you would think if you were on a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet, I would never substitute B12 for that. I would never substitute supplements for anything. The only time I would implement supplements would be in cases where somebody would really need them, and it would only be for a limited time, and it wouldn't be forever. Definitely it'd be for a short minimal time, and there's only specific ones, and we're going to get into that. Again, I would never ever especially rely on a supplement for something that is a whole food. Another reason is when you get a supplement, you're only getting, whether it works or not, I encourage you to try it at the end of the day. That is what you're trying to accomplish, but you should get it from whole foods. Now, again, I want to touch on supplements, specific ones, whereas like vitamin C, B12, a B6, whatever supplement it is, these are isolated vitamins and whatever you want to call them, whatever you're trying to get, these are isolated, so they're not in its full spectrum. Life comes in a full spectrum. It doesn't come isolated. You don't get vitamin C out in the wild by itself other than from a laboratory. When you would bite into an orange, you're getting a whole spectrum of things that combine and are whole together and that work together, and that's how the vitamin C is absorbed and utilized in the body. And it doesn't matter the science behind it. I'm not into science. It all depends on how you feel. So I encourage you to try, if you are needed or severely depleted and need to try something and you want to see how something works, yeah, I encourage it, but don't rely on this, and don't make it the only thing that don't, like the B12 again, don't make this like, oh, I'm not gonna eat, animal products and expect to get B12, or replace it. It's not gonna happen with the pill, that is. The only supplement, because I went to a holistic doctor, and she's really cool, and she has a whole array of spectrum of things. And again, I was really sick and a lot of things were going on. That being said, on the verge of like the supplements she was giving and stuff, I mean, at the time I was willing to try anything, but I mean, I also did a bunch of other things. And out of the supplements, The reason why you may feel them sometime, there's two reasons. One, they're toxic, so your body has an adverse reaction and makes adrenaline run, so you might, you might think you feel something, but really it could be something very bad. Another reason is because usually these things are synthetic for the most part and real identical to the real thing, so your body might act like they're the real thing, but you're not getting the whole thing. And this is where I was going with the whole foods again. Now, another reason why supplements are so big is because a lot of the soil is supposedly depleted, but there's no really proof in that. I get the monocropping and the overusage of certain land and not replenishing it makes sense, but people try to sell supplements because they're giving you all this help, but they need to make some extra money, or they may think you can do a certain diet if you continue all these supplements, or they think, just giving you some zinc, meanwhile your zinc's low or your iron's low, they can just give you an iron or some zinc and it's going to fix it. That's not how it works. People are just trying to sell you supplements and make money off of it, especially medical doctors and a lot of phony people. This is how they make their money, is by selling the supplements. So this is what they're going to do. Now, I will admit, I haven't tried every supplement out there, and I've only did it because the holistic doctor, and I still have pretty much negative contrary to the supplements. I will admit though, the magnesium that I did take, when I did take it, whether, I don't know how synthetic it was, which most likely it probably was, it did do something. It does make you poop and relax to a bit. It did do that, I am not gonna lie. But as to all the other ones I take, and like I said, I haven't taken a whole bunch of other ones, but when it comes to the magnesium, I actually did feel that one. But that was in a time of necessity, and I was really, really sick and willing to try anything. And like I said, I wouldn't be on that forever. I don't even recommend being on these if you would take something, only for a limited time. Again, like I said, I'd be real specific and make sure you get an effect. If you keep taking something, you're not feeling anything, then it's not working. It's definitely not working. And you should see that it's working. I seen the magnesium work. I was pooping a whole shitload because I was told up the doses, but I was pooping a whole shitload. And yes, maybe it was some of the foods I was eating too, so it's hard to even put it in the spectrum that it was just the magnesium. But if I had to say, maybe it did work, just maybe. But all in all, like I said, I'm not on it anymore, and it was a really specific time and a limited time only. Everything's subject to change and update in the future, but again, you should get the whole spectrum from all the foods. It would only make sense. So I want to move on to protein powders real quick. I do not think you should be taking protein powders at all. End of story. There's nothing about them. If you need protein, you should just eat foods that have protein in them. Or whatever you're trying to assemble out of the protein powder, which I would imagine would be, if you're using that, some type of building block. It's not the same when it's in powder form, whereas to eating a fish, it's just not the same. You're getting, again, the whole spectrum of food comes together, not separated. Yeah. And so we're going to touch on, other than maybe some synthetic or stuff that's outside of isolated vitamins, such as like magnesium, calcium, iron, B12, zinc, etc., we're going to touch upon dry herbs. And yeah, dry herbs basically. I was just going to say mushrooms, because they can come encapsulated too, or in some distinct form. Now these are quite different between you know, supplements. These are completely different. I mean, they could be called a supplement, but these act completely different. These are actually whole forms that were dried and put into a powder form most of the time, maybe a liquid. These can be beneficial, and these I do recommend, and maybe even highly recommend, especially times that you really might need them. I noticed definitely things with the mushrooms before. I definitely noticed an impact. The mushrooms are very beneficial. It doesn't even, I mean, of course you can find one particular to your case, but I noticed something. I definitely did when I was really down and recovering, of course. I did notice something, and I personally believe it's a whole food and it has medicinal purposes. Sorry, I was burping. And it has medicinal purposes. So I do highly recommend the dry herbs and the mushrooms. Like I said, I haven't had all of them. Sorry, this dog was doing something weird. So the mushrooms, it was like a whole bland turkey tail and a couple other ones, and I did notice it at the time. It was weird because it was just like a day that I really felt it. I did really feel it, but it wasn't every day that I felt it, okay? And I only had a limited supply of it. Okay, so next we're gonna move the dry herbs. Now these can be used as a supplement to maybe if you're not getting something in your diet necessarily, or there could be some minerals you need to replenish on. These could be very beneficial, and I don't see a time limit on, you know, how much, well, not really how much to use necessarily, but how long. I don't really see a limited experience when it comes to this, because dry herbs can be very beneficial. I'm not really talking about aromatic and flavoring necessarily, but that's a whole nother side, and I don't have too